So multifamily is not like residential. It's not 30 days in and out. Typically, to close on a multifamily deal takes 60 to 90 days. Okay, in this video, we're talking about how to write an LOI for a multifamily apartment building. LOI means a letter of intent. I'm gonna break down, I've bought and negotiated 8 different apartment buildings, represented myself for most of those deals. So letter of intent is a very important part. It actually kicks the deal off. So this is useful whether you're a real estate investor or even you're a real estate agent. We get questions about agents like, hey, how do I write a letter of intent for a multifamily deal? We'll break this down, give you some tips, give you some things I've learned along the way with owning 131 rental properties so you can do the same. Letter of intent. I don't know why or how this all came about, but when you buy like businesses and multifamily apartments are treated like businesses, you don't just go to the purchase and sale agreement. I mean, technically you can, but for most deals, they want to see an LOI, okay? An LOI is your expression of interest in buying the property. It's the first step. Okay, and there's a couple key things that need to be on there, and a couple key things I've learned. If you submit an LOI, a letter of intent, you better be interested in buying the property. Because if they accept it, they assume you're gonna move to what's called a PSA. They'll just say PSA for short, but a purchase and sale agreement, and they're gonna think you wanna buy it. I remember we're in a mastermind for real estate, and the guy's like, I was submitting LOIs for all these deals because I just thought that's what you did to see the financials, right? Because usually they won't give you all the financials until you have a purchase and sale agreement or an LOI. And he's like, then one of the brokers accepted my LOI. The seller accepted my LOI, and he goes, no, I didn't want to buy it. I just wanted to, throw it out there because he wrote like really high LOIs. And he's like, dude, if you ever do this again, like we're never doing business with you. So understand, you're saying I'm interested in buying. So what needs to go on an LOI? First main part of an LOI is the PP, purchase price. Probably, I would say, one of the most important thing. You can Google templates. I'm not going to put a template on here. They're just Google templates. But your purchase price, how much are you intending to pay for the property? There's what's called retrading in real estate multifamily. Don't put a price that you know you're never gonna pay, okay? Because that's what's called retrading. Brokers hate it, sellers hate it, unless there's something not disclosed. So like when I bought my 56 unit, they didn't tell me the roofs were about to go. I mean, we're talking 8 buildings. We're talking a multi-million-dollar deal. So when I wrote my LOI and then my purchase and sale agreement, I didn't include in there that I'd have to replace the roofs. So I had to retrade, and I was able, and they were upset about it. They tried saying, well, didn't you consider you might have to replace the roofs? I said, no, dude, that's a big one-time expense. I was able to negotiate a $155,000 credit. That was an acceptable retrade because I didn't know about it. So you put your purchase price, okay? Then number 2, most important, you're gonna put your terms, namely your terms for your due diligence and then your financing. And this is where people get a little confused. So your due diligence, financing, unless you're paying all cash, then you would put all cash. Most of us, we do a mortgage. So multifamily is not like residential. It's not 30 days in and out. Typically, to close on a multifamily deal takes 60 to 90 days, okay? Depending on the bank and the financing. So first is your terms. What terms are you offering? How long to close? So if I say, hey, we're gonna be able to close in 60 days, once a PSA is accepted. Under accepting this LOI, we're gonna move to a purchase and sale agreement within 5 business days. And then you can have your lawyer write up the purchase and sale agreement. You guys get that agreed upon. So hey, we're gonna close in 60 days, but I need 30 days for due diligence. That means looking at, there's 2 types of due diligence. There's financial and there's physical. Financial is like, I wanna see rent rolls, I wanna see tax returns, I wanna see utility bills, all the stuff on the computer. Physical is like, I wanna walk the property, I wanna inspect the property, I wanna inspect the mechanicals. I need to do, usually you'll get a phase 1 environmental survey where you have to pay, the lender will require you to do all this. So if you're like, man, how do I know how to do? The lender's gonna require you to do this, okay? They want to make sure you're not on toxic land. There's not like toxicity in the ground that can get people sick. And then you have to do an appraisal. They want to know if they're giving you 80%, 75%, 70% of the money. They want to know, hey, is this a good investment? So they're going to require a phase 1 environmental and an appraisal. So that's part of like your due diligence, your physical, and then your financing part of due diligence, okay? You got to spell it out for them. How long do you need? The broker is going to push you to do the least amount of time possible. They want to get paid. They want to get the deal closed. As a seller, I push people to do the least amount of time as possible. You have to be realistic. When we closed on, we just sold a 12 unit, there was Christmas, there was New Year's, all that throws banks off because banks aren't open for that. So you have to be realistic. I always request a 30-day room for extension. That means if I go past these deadlines because I'm waiting for an appraisal, I'm waiting for the environmental to come back, because these reports take time. They take a couple weeks to produce. I say I want room for 30 days. So I always push for 90 days to close when I'm buying, because what you don't want is to promise, one thing we also have to include on here is your EMD amount, to say, hey, if I don't close in 60 days, my EMD, earnest money deposit, which is typically 1 to 3%. But I'm gonna tell you, if you do 1%, I don't like that. If I'm selling them, like, why do they not have money? Why do they only want to put a little bit down? Are they just trying to tie out the property? Typically you see 2 to 3%. You don't want them to say, okay, well, hey, if you don't close in 60 days, that EMD becomes non-refundable. On bigger deals, like we're talking like 100+ unit deals, they might want that, but smaller, if you're a smaller investor, don't do that. Don't put yourself in a bind. Say, I need room for a 30-day extension before the EMD goes non-refundable, right? So mapping that out and understanding exactly how much time you need. Physical due diligence, so like walking the property. So like when I get a property under contract, and this is something too, people will be like, why can't you go walk a multifamily property like a single family home? You gotta remember there's tenants there. When I sold my 12 unit, we said no showings until a purchase and sale agreement was accepted. Because why am I gonna disturb my tenants just for anyone and everyone to go walk through there? Tenants start thinking you're gonna sell, they get nervous, they get scared, they start calling the property manager over and over, say, hey, what's going on? Who's the new owner? My rent going? You know, it's a nerve-wracking thing for them. So you don't want to disturb them just for shits and giggles. You get a physical due diligence, you get to go walk the property. So how long do you need? Do you need 14 days? Do you need 30 days? Do you want to inspect every unit? Only a couple units? You have to map that out. And transparency is the best thing. And this is how, if you're a newer investor, a broker will know if you know what you're talking about or not. And they'll get a little concerned if you are sowing like seeds of doubt in their mind that like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about, they don't know what they're doing. So if you're buying 5 units, you don't need 30 days physical due diligence. You don't need 30 days to walk 5 units. 14 days, a little bit more reasonable, but 30 days, your financing is the biggest part. Because then too, the bank's got to go get that loan approved. It's not just the reports. They have to go to their committee or whoever, however it works at each little bank and credit union is a little different. They have to go get your loan approved and get you the funds. On average, I've never seen a bank or credit union close in under 60 days, in my experience. I know some people are like, you know, they'll close in 45 days. You're really keeping it tight there. I'd always rather overperform than underdeliver. So I'd rather tell the broker 90 days and close in 60. But if you say 60 and you don't ask for an extension, you need an extension, you're in a precarious situation there. Because now you got to go ask, they've got your money tied up. Are they going to ask for it to be non-refundable? So always do that. Now you might be wondering, what's the quickest I've closed on a unit? My last deal, the 56 unit, it took months because financing got delayed. We had like 75 grand in EMD tied up. So it was frustrating. That took a few months. On average, I'd say we're 60 to 90 days. Because you got to remember, weekends, banks don't work. Holiday, dude, bankers are always on vacation. They're always on holiday. So that's what I mean. Just keep yourself safe, go for the longer term, and keep it simple. Keep your LOI simple. It's not a binding contract. It's like a first date. Do we like each other? Are we good? Then we move on to getting married. This is like a marriage. Like you're in it now. And the good news is it doesn't cost money to write it. But I've received LOIs. It looks like a third grader wrote it. So if you're gonna do, it's like a professional letter. Don't be lazy. Like go on Google, find a template. Dear Mr. or Mrs. Broker, here it is. Sign your name, right? If you're a newer investor, include your resume, your bio, your schedule, real estate owned, like something relevant, right? But I've seen LOIs where brokers sent it to me when I was selling my deal. I'm like, dude, this looks like a third grader wrote it. No way, because how you do anything is how you'll do everything. If you can't write like a paragraph with sentences and periods and punctuation, forget it. Have I ever come close to losing my EMD in a deal? Why, yes, I have almost lost my EMD in a deal. My first deal was 7 units in Northville, Michigan. It was listed at $550,000. This was in the heat of COVID when I got the deal. I got a 3.9% interest rate on it. There were multiple bidders, right? So I had to stand out from everyone else. Don't do this. I offered $660,000. I did $100,000 EMD. I did something to where I said, if I couldn't close in 60 days, it was non-refundable. Don't do that. What happened? So we wrote the LOI. I didn't use my lawyer. I had my lawyer for my other business. I didn't use my lawyer because I wanted to be cheap. Being cheap will always cost you. So I let the agent write up, because it was a residential agent who listed it. I used a residential agent. It just wasn't right. None of their fault, but whatever. Wrote up a purchase and sale agreement, standard Michigan purchase and sale agreement. So use a lawyer for a PA, don't be cheap. The lender, back to the financing, we said 60 days to close or whatever. The lender goes at the very end, hey, we need to do an environmental survey. They didn't say we had to do it in the beginning. So we did it. They're like, don't worry, so phase 1, environmental survey. They look at the soil, they test the soil, they test the ground, whatever. Like, don't worry, 99% of the time it comes back clean. I was in the 1%. The property was built on an apple orchard back in the day, and I guess apple seeds create toxicity in the soil. Now we need to do a phase 2 environmental survey. This costs about $2,500 that you have to pay for. This costs like $5,000. And they said, if this comes back bad, we can't do the deal. We cannot finance the deal. My $100,000 tied up here. It took weeks to get this. This was a more extensive report. It took weeks to get it back. The whole time they're like, we want the $100,000. We said, well, you didn't disclose that it was built on an apple orchard. I call my lawyer. My lawyer gets involved and said, you idiot, don't ever skip using me in times like this. It was a battle for the $100K because they were like, we want to go sell it to someone else. I was like, it might not be financeable. You didn't tell us, so we want the EMD back. My lawyer's like, we might have to go to court. I mean, it's a lot of money. Might go to court on it. We ended up closing the deal. It took months. I remember telling my wife, I'm like, forget this stuff. Like, I don't want to do this stuff anymore. This sucks. But I bought the deal for $660K. Wasn't toxic, so that was good. The NOI was like $30K when I bought it. The rents were like $750. Put money into it, fixed up the units, spent $2,000, $3,000 per unit. So it was only 7 units. It wasn't big. Just used the cash flow to fix it up. The NOI, when I finished in 1 year, was like $65,000. If you know what we always talk about here, NOI divided by cap rate equals valuation. This appraised at a 6% cap rate, so $65,000 divided by 0.06. The property appraised a year later for $1 million. Rents were $750. We got rents up to like $1,150 on that deal. $1 million appraisal. For $660, I put down $132,000 to buy it. 20% down, I financed the rest. A year later, I pulled out $250,000 in a cash out refinance event, tax-free. Took a while, it was a little messy, almost lost $100,000, but I made $250,000, I still own the deal. That's the power of real estate investing. So hopefully I simply broke down how to write an LOI, and I also taught you from my real life experience of some things to do, some things not to do. As always, if you have any questions, comment below. As always, appreciate you being here. Let us know. Questions, did it make sense? Do you have any feedback? Comment below. Until next time, talk soon. All right, so if you enjoyed today's episode, we want to hear from you. We want to get your feedback. I love when we get comments. I love when we get feedback. I hate just doing a video and not hearing from you. So here's what I want you to do. Number 1, drop a comment. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What do you want to see more of? What are your thoughts? If you have any questions, put them below. If you notice, guys, I respond to all of my comments personally, and I'm always going to do that. So drop a comment below. Be sure to like the video because it helps us get to more people on YouTube. Be sure to share the video. If it's helpful, please just share it with a friend. That would be a huge value add to us. I have a couple free resources for you. Number 1, you want to learn more about wealth creation, the mindset around wealth, how I went from working in my business, building a business, to investing into real estate, all from starting from scratch with food stamps, Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Get my book. It's called The New Rules to Financial Freedom. It sells for $19 on Amazon, but you can get it for a free digital download by clicking the link in the description. If you want to learn more specifically about real estate investing, the BRRRR strategy, how we've grown our portfolio, I have a free masterclass that people pay $3,000 to come live in person in California to learn in person with me teaching that room, but you can get that masterclass for absolutely free by clicking the link below. Finally, if you want to invest into real estate in Michigan, and maybe you're from Michigan, maybe you're not from Michigan, or you want to learn more about our brokerage, the Stephan Group, and either have joined our team as an agent, invested with real estate, or have us help you get into cash flow producing real estate, click the link below, Stephan Group Real Estate, fill out that quick expression of interest form. Someone on our team will reach out to you, set up a call, learn more about you and your goals, see how we can add value to you. Until our next episode, thank you so much for being here. We'll talk soon. Thanks.